Hey everybody, it's Sunday, but I wanted to make this video. Uh, Look, last week, Friday, I have to be honest with you. I did not expect to see a 600 point down day. And I did not expect to see the British pound lose 10% of its value. I expected there to be some selling, but I did not expect it to lose 10%. It did not close down 10%, but the levels that we saw very early Friday morning, okay, where the S&P traded down to 19.99 and the British pound dollar pair traded down to, I think it was 132. We are going to see those levels again. So it's in the very short term, it's going to look ugly, and it's going to be extremely important what happens after that. By the way, I will be buying at 19.99 S&P. I will be buying down at 132 British pound. But here's the thing, and I've said this in the past to some of you privately. You have to, the MMT stuff that I teach and I talk about, and sometimes almost in a smug or cocky way, and it's meant to be that way because I want to reinforce, or I want to impress upon you the power of knowledge and understanding. When I say it's easy for me to know what's going to happen on policy, on macroeconomic developments, on geopolitical, it's easy for me from an MMT perspective to know what's going to happen. What is not easy, and I've said this in the past, this is nothing new, so don't say to me, oh, you never told us that. I mean, what is not easy is to gauge the reaction of the crowd. Okay? I try. There are many different things that I use to try to get a handle on that. There's ways to get a snapshot of sentiment and find out when it's really extreme, but that's kind of like an unknown. I mean, you never really know. The other thing, of course, the hard part is the mental game, but I have that. Many of you are developing that now as a result of watching my videos or talking to me or whatever. But that gauging of the crowd. Now, crowds can be very destructive. Crowd behavior can be very destructive. Not only can it wipe you out financially, the crowds can kill you. They can kill societies. They can kill nations. Okay, mass behavior. Now, let us not, let us remember, without any sort of questioning here, that the fear campaign for this Brexit that had been built up and which continues to be out there has been put in place by the elites. Those are the people at the very top, financially and in positions of power, who wanted to remain, for Britain to remain in Europe because that suits them fantastically well. Okay, they've been doing better than they ever have financially, politically, in terms of the power distribution, all of that, and they have not backed off. Now, this thing could go two ways. One could be very bad, and one could be incredibly, profoundly positive. And let me explain what those are. The one way is that the elites and the fear mongers succeed in getting people so scared and so nervous. And by the way, if you listen, and I've been listening to the weekend talk shows, if you listen to those who are promulgating this fear, they really cannot point to, they do not point to anything specifically. It's constantly like uncertainty. They talk about investment leaving Britain. Maybe so. But it doesn't, the investment just shifts to another location in Europe, in the EU. It doesn't fly out into outer space. It doesn't disappear completely. It just says, okay, London, Britain used to be the center of finance. Maybe now it's going to become Frankfurt. Maybe now it's going to become Geneva. Who knows? It doesn't just stop. It has to continue. The world needs these markets and these services, and it continues to need trade. So, I mean, That is a fear-mongering tactic right there. They tell you it's going to leave Britain, but they don't say where it's going to go. They just act as if it's gone forever. It's not. To wipe 2 trillion off of global equity markets because of this last Thursday is ludicrous, but it's being driven by fear. There is a very, very sophisticated fear campaign going on because the elites control the media, the Western media anyway. And nothing is more powerful. I mean, if you watch the news, you have people who are basically entertainment reporters on these news shows who are pontificating on what Brexit means, and they have no fucking clue at all. But every other word out of their mouth is fear and uncertainty, and it's bad. Okay, so that's the bad story. That this thing could really get pushed to the point where it affects people's behavior so in such a negative way that it does create a global recession. And then you have the problem that the people at the controls, people at the central banks, and more importantly, people in government, lawmakers, our fiscal policy people, they don't do anything. See, this is what I got wrong with the housing crash. And nobody predicted the extent of the crash. They maybe were calling for a correction in housing. But the fact that the powers that be nearly let the entire system collapse into a black hole because they were not doing what they needed to do. Same thing could happen again. That's the bad news. Okay, so it's very important what happens to the market when we retest the lows. If we retest the lows successfully and start to improve, that is a wonderful, wonderful sign. Now, the other side of the coin, the positive side of the coin, is if this thing, stabilizes and starts to come back, then the fear mongers have lost their power. It has been neutralized. And people will say, look, we had Brexit. We had a couple of days or a couple of weeks of a sell-off and nothing bad happened. So now when you start to hear Italy's going to do it, or France is going to do it, or Portugal's going to do it, or the Netherlands, it's going to have less ability to stir up that fear and affect the markets. That would be an amazing, amazing thing. And I'm hopeful that it's going to go that way. But you got to respect the elites have a lot of power. They control the media. They control everything. And their ability to put out a very, very frightening message is real. And it can affect the behavior of millions, if not billions of people. And that is their goal. They want to show those who voted against this, which are basically the little peons that they control everywhere, who they have stolen from, who they have thrust into a gigantic global dystopia. They want to say to them, you see, you idiots, you must listen to us because we're smarter than you. We're better than you. We know more than you. We will tell you how to vote and behave and act. You got to respect their power. That could really happen. That could really happen. I hope it won't. But that could happen. But we'll know a lot more this week. See you.